What if the unimaginable happens? What if your city is targeted in a nuclear attack? Chilling, isn't it? Yet, we live in a world where the specter of nuclear threat is not just a figment of dystopian fiction, but a stark reality. The nuclear age, a product of the 20th century, continues to cast its long dark shadow into the 21st. Across the globe, nations harbor thousands of nuclear warheads, each capable of causing untold destruction on a scale that can barely be comprehended. We're not here to spread fear, but to face facts. The possibility, however remote, of a nuclear attack is real. It's a scenario that we all hope will never happen, but hope, as they say, is not a strategy. So, let's talk strategy. Let's talk survival. Surviving a nuclear attack is not about luck. It's about being prepared. It's about understanding the threat and knowing what to do when the unthinkable happens. It's about having a plan, knowing where to go, what to do, and how to protect yourself and your loved ones. Many of us have grown up with the idea that a nuclear attack means the end of everything. That's not entirely true. Yes, the devastation would be enormous, and the aftermath horrific. But it's also true that with the right knowledge and preparation, survival is possible. We need to be clear about one thing. A nuclear attack is not like any other disaster. A hurricane or a wildfire gives you time to evacuate. A nuclear attack does not. The first few minutes after a nuclear detonation are crucial. Your actions during this time could mean the difference between life and death. So, what do? How do you prepare for such a catastrophic event? What steps can you take to increase your chances of survival? Over the next few scenes, we'll delve into these questions. We'll help you understand the nature of a nuclear blast, the golden rule of survival, how to prepare for the worst, and what life could look like after the blast. When it comes to a nuclear attack, your survival depends on your knowledge and preparedness. Let's arm ourselves with that knowledge and prepare for the unthinkable. A nuclear explosion isn't like any other. Its effects are far-reaching and deadly. Picture this. At the heart of a nuclear blast is the initial fireball, a sphere of superheated, glowing air that incinerates everything within its reach. Following closely is an overwhelming shockwave, a wall of pressure that obliterates buildings and can knock a person off their feet miles away. But the danger doesn't end there. Invisible to the naked eye is the radiation, a silent, deadly force that permeates the air, ground, and water. It's a lingering menace that can cause sickness and death long after the blast. And then there's the fallout. This is a mix of debris and radioactive particles that's blasted into the sky and then descends back to Earth, contaminating everything it touches. In the face of such devastation, your immediate actions could be the difference between life and death. Your understanding of these effects is the first step to survival. Surviving a nuclear attack boils down to one golden rule: distance, shelter, and time. This triad of survival could be the difference between life and death in the face of nuclear fallout. Let's start with distance. Imagine the nuclear blast as a destructive ripple in a pond. The further you are from the epicenter, the less intense the effects. Distance is your friend here. The immediate goal following a nuclear detonation is to put as much space as possible between you and the blast site. Next, we have shelter. A robust shelter can protect you from the lethal effects of nuclear fallout. It's not just about having a roof over your head, but about having layers of dense materials like concrete, brick, or earth between you and the radioactive particles. Basements, underground tunnels, or concrete buildings are ideal. The key here is to find a spot that provides substantial shielding from the outside world. Finally, time plays a crucial role in your survival. Radioactive fallout is most dangerous in the first few hours after a detonation, with its intensity decreasing significantly over time. This is why it's essential to stay in your shelter for at least 2 weeks following a blast. It may sound like a long time, but patience is vital for survival in this scenario. These three components, distance, shelter, and time, intertwine to form the golden rule of nuclear survival. Each one plays its part in protecting you from the deadly effects of a nuclear attack. They're like the three legs of a stool, each as important as the other, and without one, the stool, or in this case, your survival, could come crashing down. Remember, distance, shelter, and time, they could save your life. Preparation is key. It begins long before the sirens sound. In a world where unpredictability is the only certainty, readiness is your best ally against nuclear threats. It's not a matter of fueling fear, but fostering awareness and taking practical steps to ensure your survival. Start with a disaster plan. This plan should be simple, clear, and known to every member of your household. It should include escape routes out of your home and neighborhood, as well as a designated meeting place if you get separated. Consider every possible scenario and plan accordingly. Remember, the goal is to reach a safe place as quickly as possible. Next, let's talk about emergency supplies. It's recommended to stock up for at least 2 weeks. The basics include water, 1 gallon per person per day, non-perishable food items, a manual can opener, a battery or crank-powered radio, flashlights, extra batteries, a first aid kit, and necessary prescription medications. A dust mask, plastic sheeting, and duct tape may also come in handy to shield you from radioactive fallout. Now, onto potential shelters. If you're fortunate enough to have a basement, this could be your best bet. The more barriers between you and the fallout, the better. If a basement isn't an option, go for the centermost part of your house, away from windows and doors. An interior room with as many walls as possible between you and the outside world is ideal. And remember, the time spent in the shelter should be minimized. Only venture out when it's absolutely necessary, and always with protective gear. Lastly, don't forget about mental preparation. Staying calm and level-headed in a crisis is easier said than done, but it's absolutely crucial. Practice your plan, familiarize yourself with your supplies and shelter, and mentally rehearse the steps you would take in an emergency. Your pre-attack preparations could be as crucial as your actions during the attack. So prepare wisely, and remember, survival isn't about strength, it's about strategy. Surviving the initial blast is just the beginning. The aftermath can be just as deadly. In the wake of a nuclear event, the world as we know it changes. The air, the water, the very soil beneath our feet become tainted with radiation. This invisible enemy, a silent but potent remnant of the blast, poses a significant threat to survivors. Radiation sickness is a real and present danger. Symptoms may include nausea, weakness, hair loss, skin burns, and in severe cases, it can result in death. However, don't despair. There are ways to mitigate these risks. One of the most effective methods is time, distance, and shielding. Limit your exposure time, maintain a safe distance from contaminated areas, and use shielding materials like lead, concrete, or even soil. Remember, radiation decreases over time. The longer you can wait before venturing out, the safer it will be. But radiation isn't the only hazard. The food we eat, the water we drink, can become contaminated. To avoid this, stock up on canned goods and sealed water supplies before disaster strikes. After the blast, never consume anything unless you're certain it's uncontaminated. Yet it's not just physical health that's at stake. The psychological impact of a nuclear event can be profound. The loss, the fear, the isolation can take a heavy toll. It's crucial to find ways to cope. Maintain a routine, find solace in small comforts, connect with others if possible, and never lose hope. And above all, be resourceful. Use what you have, improvise, adapt. Remember, survival isn't about strength or speed, it's about resilience. It's about the will to keep going, to endure, to rise from the ashes and live to see another day. Surviving a nuclear attack is a long game. It requires resilience, resourcefulness, and a will to live. No one wants to imagine a nuclear attack, but knowing what to do if it happens could make all the difference. Let's take a moment to revisit the key survival points we've gone over. Understanding the blast and its aftermath is imperative. The power, the damage, the fallout. It's a grim scenario, but knowledge is power, and that power can be your lifeline. The golden rule of survival, remember? Distance, shelter, and time. Put as much space as possible between you and the fallout. Seek substantial shelter and give it time. The more time passes, the less dangerous the fallout becomes. Preparation is not paranoia, it's prudence. Stocking up on essentials, having a plan, knowing the basics of nuclear survival. These are not signs of fear, but badges of readiness. Life after the blast will be challenging, but with the right knowledge and preparation, survival is possible. In the face of the unthinkable, your knowledge, preparation, and will to survive are your most potent weapons.